Welcome, dreamers. Ready to relax and unwind? Get comfy and let our soft night tales take you to magical places. Enjoy.
Have you ever been somewhere, completely lost in thought, when something small but unexpected happens, and it changes everything? What if your world was turned upside down by a single moment of kindness, at the exact moment you needed it? This is a story about Daniel, a man who thought he had everything figured out. He worked the same 9-to-5 job, went through the same routines, and lived in the same quiet apartment, day after day. He never expected anything to surprise him. Until one quiet night, on a late-night train ride home, Daniel met someone who would change his life in a way he never saw coming. It was around 11:30 p.m. when Daniel finally boarded the last train of the night. He had just finished his shift at a small marketing firm and, like most nights, his head was filled with thoughts of deadlines, spreadsheets, and emails. He wasn't a people person. He liked the solitude. The rhythm of the train's wheels on the track, the soft hum of the lights above. It was the one time during his day when he didn't have to deal with anything or anyone. The train was empty, just a few passengers here and there. Daniel slouched in his seat, headphones in, eyes half-lidded as the familiar sights of the city blurred past. His stop wasn't far, but the quietness made it feel like he had all the time in the world. But just as the train approached his stop, he noticed something strange. A small, scruffy man was sitting across from him. He was older, with wild, unkempt white hair, a long gray beard, and a heavy coat that looked a little too big for him. His shoes were worn, and he had a large, weathered suitcase at his feet. He was staring out of the window, humming a tune that seemed oddly familiar but distant at the same time. Daniel was about to get up and leave, but then something odd happened. The man smiled at him. At first, Daniel didn't know what to make of it. He had plenty of strange encounters, but this was different. The man's smile was soft, genuine, like he didn't expect anything from Daniel, like he just wanted to share a moment. The kind of smile that, for some reason, made Daniel feel like he wasn't so alone. "Long ride?" the man asked, his voice low but friendly. Daniel blinked, surprised that someone was talking to him. He pulled out his headphones and cleared his throat. Yeah. Just getting off work," he said, not sure how to continue. The man nodded slowly. "I know the feeling. Some days, work feels like it goes on forever. But then, sometimes, you have these little moments. And they remind you that life isn't all about getting to the next destination. It's about the moments along the way." Daniel wasn't used to conversations like this. Most of the people he interacted with were either busy with their own lives or just passing by. But there was something about this man that made him want to listen. The old man chuckled softly, shaking his head as if remembering something long ago. "You know," he said, "I've traveled a lot in my life. Trains, buses, cars. Doesn't matter. But I'll tell you something I learned along the way. It's the people you meet that make the journey worth it. Not the destinations." Daniel shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't sure where this conversation was going, but for some reason, he felt compelled to stay and listen. The train suddenly jolted, making Daniel sit up straighter. They were approaching his stop, but he didn't get up right away. The old man continued speaking, his eyes twinkling with the kind of wisdom that only time could give. "You ever feel like you're just going through the motions?" the man asked, looking Daniel directly in the eyes. "Like, you're not really living, just existing?" Daniel stared at him. He didn't know how to answer. Was that how he felt? He was just so used to everything being routine. Work. Go home. Eat something. Sleep. Repeat. He'd never stopped to really think about what living meant. The old man seemed to read his thoughts. "I know that look," he said with a grin. "It's easy to get stuck, you know? Stuck in a routine. But the truth is, life doesn't have to be that way. You can make it what you want. Sometimes, all it takes is a little shift in perspective." Daniel opened his mouth to say something, but the train slowed, signaling that they had reached his stop. He glanced at the door and then back at the man. He felt like he should say something, but nothing came to mind. He stood up, grabbed his bag, and moved toward the door. "Take care of yourself, young man," the old man called out as Daniel was about to step off the train. Something about the way he said it made Daniel stop. He turned around, half expecting the man to be gone, but he was still there, smiling at him with that kind, almost knowing look. "I hope you find what you're looking for," the man added softly. Daniel didn't know what to say, so he simply nodded and stepped off the train. As the doors slid shut behind him, he felt a strange tug in his chest, like something had shifted, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. The next morning, Daniel woke up and went through his usual routine. But something was different. That brief encounter on the train, with the old man's words about finding what you're looking for, kept echoing in his mind. He couldn't help but wonder, what if he wasn't living the life he truly wanted? What if there was something more to all of this? As the days went by, Daniel started to notice small changes. He took different routes to work, explored parts of the city he'd never seen before, and started talking to people a little more. He even signed up for a weekend photography class, a hobby he had always wanted to try but never had the courage to pursue. It wasn't about some big dramatic change. It was about those little moments, the ones that added up to something bigger. The moments that made him feel like he was actually living, not just moving through life on autopilot. And all of it started with that one moment on a quiet train ride home, when a stranger shared a few words that made Daniel realize he didn't have to settle. That he could choose how his story unfolded.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful journeys and bedtime tales. Thank you for being part of our community.